What is up, everybody? Isaac here, Civil Engineering Academy. Excited to be with you on another podcast episode. Thank you for liking and subscribing these things. It always helps us out and the algorithm that's out there. And thanks for finding us in this weird part of the internet. So we appreciate you jumping on, listening, watching, wherever you're finding us. Today, I bring a special guest on, Dr. Sam Zolfagharian. She is the president of YegaTech, and that is a consulting company whose whole mission is to really help AEC leaders and executives with their AI strategy. She's going to help everyone in that organization understand governance, develop strategy, and really help execute a plan to bring AI into your workplace. So she's been a keynote speaker for a variety of organizations. She is an author. She is the co-creator of all YegaTech's AI innovation framework, and she is pleasant to talk to. So I wanted to bring her on, talk about all things AI, how it can affect you and be useful to you as an engineer, but also how it can affect and be useful to executives in making decisions on how to implement this stuff for their businesses. So without further ado, I'll be quiet. We'll bring on Dr. Sam. I think you're going to enjoy this, and we'll see you in just a minute. All right, Sam, we are rocking and rolling. Thanks for joining me today on the Civil Engineering Academy podcast. I appreciate you doing this with me.
Thanks, Isaac, for having me here. I'm really excited for our conversation.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I know you're kind of a big player in the AI space, so we wanted to come and have you on, and especially the AEC industry and how AI is kind of helping in that industry. But I always love to start these out just asking about your own background. Could you describe your own background and kind of how you started this company as well, and a little background with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is in structural engineering. I used to design and build residential buildings back in the day. And later I decided to learn more about construction technologies and how it can help our industry. So I decided to continue my higher education, and I went to Georgia Tech. I got my PhD in design computing and construction management. At that time, we were working on understanding data that we have throughout the whole process from design to project delivery, and how we interact with the data, how we can make sure that we have access to the right level of data when needed. And that project was an interest for Autodesk, and how I got an offer from Autodesk to join as a product management. And at Autodesk, I was leading their industrialized construction platform, and also part of Port. Now it's called Autodesk Platform Services. And my latest project was focusing on leveraging AI to personalize users' experience based on who they are, what they do, so that they can have the good experience with Autodesk products. So that made me think how I can bring that knowledge and experience to the industry, like how I can help them to get and leverage AI in their day-to-day job. And that's why we started YegaTech. We started it before ChatGPT was released back in days when we were talking about, AI. Some people, they were like, what are you talking about? Who needs AI in AEC? And there weren't that much interest until ChatGPT was released, and everyone could have a more tangible experience, how AI may help them. But again, my definition of AI is not ChatGPT generating images. This is one way that it can help us. There are more opportunities that we can leverage in design, in the management process, accessing information. And I hope we consider broader scope when we're thinking about AI. And with AI, we've been working with multiple companies in the last 3 years, and we decided to document everything and create a framework that is going to help the rest of the industry. So I just submitted my manuscript to the publisher for the book called Disrupted. And in that book, I'm talking about how companies can rethink and revisit their operations, their workforce, and also their business models for the new era of work that we're in.
Disrupt it. Okay. So when is that coming out, or is it out?
So based on my conversation with the publisher, it will be by the end of December. Crossing fingers, because it depends like how much edit I get. So you send the book to the editor, they review it, and they're like giving you some comments, feedback that you need to work on. And I'm waiting for their feedback. So I just submitted it like a week ago. Yeah.
Can I ask how long that took to write? I'm just curious.
It was about 1.5 years, more than 1.5 years, but every day. I
was going to say, did you use ChatGPT? Just kidding.
No,
that's awesome.
But at least 1 hour to 90 minutes per day, as much as possible. They usually say to write a book, it will be great if you can write 500 words a day. So that was my goal, try to have 500 words a day. But it doesn't mean that you are going to use everything. It's like I went through 7 drafts for the book, if you wonder.
That's great. Well, you are really accomplished. I kind of just want to dive into your background just a little bit more, but where are you originally from?
Oh, I'm originally from Iran. I'm from a small town called Babol. It is in north of Iran, south of Caspian Sea. And for those of you who don't know where Caspian Sea is, actually Caspian Sea is the biggest, largest lake in the world. That's why they call it sea. And it's the border of Iran and Russia.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so how did you make it here to the United States? Was it schooling that brought you here or family?
It was a school. It wasn't easy. But yes, it was a school. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. And then I'm just curious too, but did you get your PE? Did you have to get your SE while you were here?
No, not here because I'm not practicing it anymore. But back in Iran, our education system is based on the US. So it's like, the concrete or steel courses that we are trained on is based on the U.S. policies and
codes and standards.
Yeah.
Interesting. Awesome. Okay. I just wanted to kind of sort that out. So let's go back to YegaTech. How did you come up with that name for that company?
So my suggestion is don't spend that much time. If you're going to launch a company, don't spend that much time on the name of the company.
It sounds great.
It took us a while to get into the name that is not trademark and there isn't anything around it and we can find the domain. But YegaTech, Yega is short for Yegane, and Yegane in Persian means outstanding and amazing. And in Burmese, I found some sources that they say it means women in power. So for us, Yega was like, okay, let's go with Yega and adding tech because that's our focus. So
that makes sense. I was curious about the name, so that's fascinating. All right, let's dive into the AI stuff. So you have an AEC background. You've worked for Autodesk. You have all this experience designing buildings. Where do you see AI being implemented in the AEC universe?
Today.
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 Or in the future. However you want to answer that.
So since ChatGPT was released, before ChatGPT, when I used to work a lot with GC and engineers, and back in the time it was mainly around how we can optimize the design, but no one was talking AI in their language that much, as many as we use today. But how I can optimize my design, how I can be more predictive in terms of maintenance, especially when it gets into building operations. But after ChatGPT was released, now everyone wonders how they can get the most out of the text, the documents that they have. And one thing that everyone is talking about is I need my chatbot because accessing information is difficult. usually employees spend like 30% of their time per week just to find information, going through emails, like SharePoints, documents, design. And so they want to see how they can simplify that process via chatbot. And there are some use cases around proposal writing, because it's really time consuming for people and it's not a fun project to do. So everyone is talking about it. So these are common use cases that everyone talks about today. But the point here is like with AI, sky is the limit. So the question is where you want to get the most out of it. Like it can enable you to bring new opportunities to your companies or improve the existing process that you have. So the question is like, where do you want to take the most advantage out of it? And in that case, there are some opportunities that no one is talking about. And those could be unique to a company that if they accomplish it, they can get ahead of their competitors. So I'm hoping that the AEC companies, they have broader perspective when it comes to AI and just don't limit themselves to RFPs or to chatbot, and looking like beyond that and see like where AI can help them with the secret sauce that they have, with the unique position that they have in front of their client. Either magnify it and make it better, or even come up with something new that wasn't possible before, but they want to like do it. For example, getting into a new market, or even creating a new business model that it wasn't possible before.
That's very interesting. I checked out your website earlier. I know you've done a ton of different presentations, but one of them that your co-founder did with you is he showed kind of a floor plan just as a demo. Showed a floor plan. You would highlight kind of the area of the floor plans where you wanted certain office space. And then you would use AI to figure out maybe how many cubicles you could put in there, or the arrangement that would be the most efficient use of the space. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. I mean, I work at a place and they argue all the time of where to put cubicles and what would be the best space for. And if you can, this is just one example of that, but it's really cool that you could get AI to help you with the most efficient use of space. I could see it being used for, making the most efficient estimates that maybe you could develop in a project, which would make you more competitive. There's kind of just probably an endless amount of uses that you could use this. I'm curious, in your experience, can you talk about, or have you seen specific uses of AI in your experience?
Besides that design example?
Yeah, maybe besides that efficient use of floor plan design.
To answer that question, I would look at it first outside of our industry. There are companies that they leverage AI. For example, back in the time, I was using machine learning in terms of predicting materials performance throughout the manufacturing process. So at that time was 3D printing, and through 3D printing, the materials properties change because of the heat, and it was difficult to predict how the design will perform after being 3D printed. So we were doing lots of tests in terms of printing a part, depending on the design, depending on the machine parameters, the 3D printing parameters, and depending on the materials properties itself. So it's not scalable. And eventually we decided to use machine learning to predict the part performance based on materials properties, based on machine settings, and as well as the design itself. So that way we could simulate over thousands of designs itself and predict their performance. So my point here is like, when there's something that is not scalable today, we should look at it and see like how AI or AI techniques can help us to make it scalable, because as a human, we have our own limitations and we have limited time throughout the project. And if I come to the AEC industry, the one that you mentioned, design is one thing. The other thing, there are startups around like Blueprint, AI, and what they do, they're trying to leverage AI to create 2D drawings. 2D drawings could be a little bit sensitive topic for some designers, because there are many nuances in creating a 2D drawing. So people are unsure if AI really can help, but there are some ongoing efforts around that are trying to automate that process of generating 2D drawings. Back in time when I started my career as a structural engineer, I remember I had to spend like weeks just to get those 2D drawings created, get it in the format that is accepted. So it wasn't something that I really wanted to do. I prefer like to get the design done and go to construction site, see what's happening. But I had to spend weeks at the office and just prepare those 2D drawings. So imagine if like a startup like Blueprint that AI can automate that process, then that would be super helpful in terms of leveraging our time for other tasks that we enjoy and also for more creativity.
It definitely does. I think it would speed up stuff. So I guess that begs the question. A lot of people sometimes get worried that AI is going to take their positions or things are going to go away. So how do you see it, the human component in working with AI in terms of, I guess, people's jobs or in any capacity that where's the human component still involved?
There are two components in your question. The first one is job replacement, and the second one is human AI collaboration, maybe, or human AI interaction. So I'll go one by one. In terms of job displacement, we should consider AI as another disruption. Like, it's going to change many things. It's been around for a while, and this time because of the more data we have with the power of computation and better algorithm that engineers, scientists could develop, AI is capable of doing more things that wasn't possible before, and it's going to impact our jobs. Based on the research, McKinsey, it says like 40% of jobs will be replaced by AI. My guess is it will be lower in our industry because of the nuances that it had, because of the complexity that it had. And also most of work are being done on the site itself, which goes back to the robotics side. I don't want to get there. Robotics is like, it has its own complexity. The pricing is expensive. And also like having robots walking around, it takes us for a while to get there. But in terms of the office job, it could replace some jobs similar to CAD and BIM invention, which replaced some of the jobs that we used to have, but they created the new job. And the challenge that we have today, we can imagine what the new job will be. That's why we think that AI will just replace us. Everything will be done with AI. But that's correct. Yes, some jobs will be replaced. I don't want to ignore that. But in the meantime, there will be some new opportunities for us that they haven't been created yet. And the second angle of your question was in terms of human AI collaboration. That's something that goes back to the leadership team. So human AI interaction, that's where the leadership team will play a critical role in terms of providing the right education and training for their employees. AI is not like any other software that you just give it to your employees and ask them go to use it. They should be trained. They should understand the risk of AI, because there are some decision that AI can make it by itself when we use a product. Even like, let's go as simple as ChatGPT. When I ask it the question, it gives me something. And if you Google it, in some cases, it's not correct, even it doesn't exist. So if as an employee, I just rely on what I get from an AI system and give it to a client or get it into my design, then that's going to be risky down the road, and it can result in lawsuit and financial loss. So it's really important for employees to understand that when they work with an AI system, with a tool that is AI enabled, they're still in charge. Their responsibility is to verify and validate the result before confirming it and get it applied in their project. So, and that comes from the training. Without training, employees may not know that they should do that verification and validation with the AI output.
So I'm just curious, you're talking at an executive level, but what are some other things that executives should be looking at? I know, they're looking at as a whole of how AI can improve their business, where they can find efficiencies. It sounds like we need to train employees to make sure they're double checking things. Or is there anything else that you are training or teaching executives that they should be watchful of?
One common pattern is some people are looking for a tool. They're like, what tools are out there that I can go and test it? And with the speed that is happening with AI development, more and more solutions will be out there to test. Right now, we have over 10,000 just solutions, not AI, it's just solutions out there for our industry. And with AI, it's going to be more and more. So if we just want to look for tools and experiment with them, that could result in tech fatigue for your employees. So it makes it difficult for them to just test like a tool, see if it works or not. And you always look for like a shiny object that is out there. And basically it doesn't, like if I use a tool that is out there, then how is going to give me like a radical competitive advantage? I may get some like short-term competitive advantage because some others may not use it, but eventually how is going to give me radical competitive advantage? And by radical is something that helps me to be ahead of the market, to lead the market. And what the executive team leadership,
which sounds like an internal tool. That sounds like an internal tool that you should be developing, not something external that you tack on. It's something you should be looking at within your company to give you that competitive advantage.
My co-founder just published a video on YouTube channel, our YegaTech YouTube channel, and he's exactly talking about what you mentioned. And in that video, he's talking about like there are many problems, opportunities out there for our industry, and some of them the total available market is huge, and that's where big tech companies are coming and they focus on it, like Autodesk or like Procore or some other big company. They come in and try to build a solution, and then there is like some middle market, like the market is smaller than the bigger one. Still, the big tech vendors may focus on it, but mostly startups will come in and try to tackle those problems and opportunities. And back to your point, there are some opportunities that are unique to a business, to a company. It goes back to their secret sauce. It goes back to how they do the work or the market that they're focusing on, or even their clients' preferences. And that's where, if there isn't any solution out there, that could be an opportunity for them to invest. And this is where they need to focus on and find those solutions. And if you just, we call it inside out versus outside in strategy. So when companies are looking for tools out there, is outside in strategy. Let's see what's out there was the coolest and bring it inside and let our employees try it and run some pilot project. But when you have inside out the strategy, it goes back to what problems we have and we want to solve. What are the opportunities? It could be in terms of market opportunities, new market opportunities, or it even could be in terms of business models that we're interested in to focus on, identify those, and then look out there, see if there is anything. And if it's not, there might be an opportunity for you to invest it internally.
That's fascinating. I'm curious, as you know, AI keeps pushing forward. There's obviously risks involved. We've talked about one of those already, double checking things. Do you see any other risks? And maybe you could also touch upon, you've talked about this before in the past, but you have bias that's also involved with AI at different points. And so could you talk about risks and also a little bit about bias as well?
Yeah. I usually use the metaphor that Dr. Felfeli is she's known as the mother of AI, and she's teaching at Stanford. Her metaphor is AI is like fire. And with fire, when we invented fire as a human, there was advantage of cooking and also warming up. But in the meantime, we don't watch out, it can burn our houses and threat us. So AI is similar. So it has many advantages. It can bring opportunities, but if we don't watch out, it has its own risk as well. When ChatGPT was released, one of the common incidents for many companies was the employees, and there are some cases that I personally heard about as well, that the employees were copy-pasting a project data into ChatGPT and was trying to get the summary of that project. And at that time, it was really unknown, like how OpenAI is going to use that data. Are they going to use it for the training purpose or not? And since it was the beginning, there wasn't that much push for the privacy policy for OpenAI. But eventually now they have more features which tries to guarantee that our data is going to be kept private. But there are the risk of privacy that when we interact with those AI tools, we should have our legal team be involved, review those terms of privacy, and check how those data and information are going to be used. And depending on the project that we're working on, we may have some concerns, like there might be a sensitive project that I'm working on with government. So I just can't leverage the data like an AI tool that is going to use those data for the training for the next round, most likely. So we need to include legal to review those terms of privacy and making sure that our data privacy is considered throughout their process. There are some risks in terms of bias that I will talk. There are the risk of over-reliance. When it comes back to the example, the case study we're talking about designing a space and like a test fit for a building, there was another project that was about how you can optimize the structure of a building, like beam and column size. Imagine that I'm using an AI tool and I just rely on the design that AI tool provides me, and without any verification and validation. In that case, if the building collapses, it's not the AI that is responsible. It's going to be me as an engineer who is responsible for any damages or losing life that may happen as a result. And so I talk about data privacy. I talk about over-reliance.
I asked about bias too, but you got more risks out there?
I have more now. I was wondering if I should go through the whole thing.
You can go through a couple more.
It's fine. I can go to bias. Probably you need to cut this part because I was like, I have a list of like 6, 7.
A lot of risk.
So, yeah. So one thing that I like to say is, and that's the recommendation for many companies when you're setting an AI strategy and you're trying to leverage AI tools out there or trying to build your own in-house tool, make sure you have a balance of your AI strategy and governance. In that case, you're trying to minimize the liability. But if you just try to leverage AI without any governance consideration, that may cause risk. And there are companies that they just ignore the strategy. They're waiting to see what's going to happen, but they have a good governance part that they're not letting anyone use anything out there. And that could be like a burden for their employees. So try to have a balance between your AI strategy and AI governance. So while you're taking advantage, you're benefiting from AI capabilities, you're also trying to mitigate the risk. I'm not going to say prevent, because like internet security, we're still getting scam emails and like those malicious activities that are happening. So you're trying to mitigate the risk. Back to that bias question. When it comes to bias, we need to consider the whole ecosystem. Most of us think that bias, like those tech providers are in charge of bias, but technically those tech providers who provide us AI solutions, they use the data that we generate in our daily work or daily life. And they need to consider whether those data are like in the context and they cover different ranges or different contexts that they're trying to tackle on. But these are based on the data that we generate. And then it goes to algorithms. So engineers, when they develop, they create an AI algorithm, they write an AI algorithm, there are some aspects of it that they can inject their own biases, like the weight that they give to a specific parameter when they train an AI model. So that's where an individual, like a tech provider, engineer, can inject their own biases into the system as well. And so it will be the combination of the data that we generate, the data that tech providers use. They need to make sure that it's in the context. It covers the variety of personas. It covers the variety of the context within that specific use case that we're trying to use, and also making sure that those algorithms, they don't have bias as well. We usually consider that like a triangle of people, data, and algorithm when it comes to bias.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I remember seeing you explain that before, but I wanted to make sure listeners hear that, because you see a lot of it in social media and posts and stuff like this. But this same bias can happen in the AEC industry, where you're giving certain weights to things, or maybe your AI is pulling a design, like I think you mentioned, from Europe one time for a building in the United States. So these biases can happen within AI in of those three different areas. So thanks for touching on that. Well, I'm just maybe as we wrap up, where do you see things are going to be in the next 5 years in the AEC industry?
I wish I could predict the future. Based on what I'm seeing right now, in 5 years we have more and more professionals who are educated about AI, and their understanding is beyond just GPT, and they're able to understand other AI capabilities that can help them in their day-to-day job. I see companies who are able to create new business models. Right now, there are companies, or many companies at least, are based on hourly base. And with AI, they wonder, with hourly base, I can get the job done faster. Does it mean I should give like a cheaper price to my client? Not really. It's about the value you deliver. So in 5 years, we will have business models that are value-based rather than just hourly-based, because hourly-based may not be applicable to this current process. Like architecture firms, they usually charge hourly or lump sum. And if it's hourly, then when they use AI, their clients can come to them and say, hey, charge me less because now you have like this AI solution that you use. It's about the value that they give to their clients. So the business models, new business models will be created. And I would see companies have AI engineers. They have like an AI team hired within their organization. And there are companies, by the way, right now that are doing it. They're looking for talents out there, especially those who have like a background in both AEC and AI. And they're hiring those because they want to just do some pilot and making sure that they're staying ahead of the market. So in the past, like in the last few years, most companies, they were trying to hire data scientists for like predictive analytics. But in the next few years, we focus on hiring more AI engineers, like more AI experts, so that they can do some internal in-house pilot.
So if you are a civil engineer and you get an AI background, you're probably got a killer combo in some sort of degree or something.
Yeah, I've been having several like presentation for universities like YegaTech. This week will be with CMU, and most of them are worried about the future of what they want to do. Just upskill yourself. Like, don't just be scared of the future. Like, those who create the future are the winners. So if you just be scared, then you don't know where you're heading. So try to see like which skills you need and can make you unique and more competitive in the market. And back to your point, yes, if they have a background in AEC and also understand AI, then they're in a good position to be hired.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and end it on that. Sam, I appreciate you jumping on and sharing all this information about AI and where things are headed in the AEC industry. Super fascinating. I appreciate you doing this. If there's a way for people to contact you, what's the best way to do that?
You can go to YegaTech.com/free. I just wrote an article about 5 steps to prepare your business for the future of work in an AI-driven economy. It's the subset of the book Disrupted, but my goal is just summarize it, provide like a 2-page for your audience if they're trying to see what they need to do next to get their business prepared for an AI-driven economy, because that's going to be the future of our work.
Perfect. Okay, we'll go ahead and link that in our show notes and in our videos and everything else. So we'll make sure we get that linked. Sam, thanks for doing this. Hopefully we'll chat in the future. Maybe 5 years we'll reconnect and we'll see where things are at based on your prediction.
Thank you so much, Isaac, for having me here. I know our industry is known to be slow when it comes to AI adoption, but I hope we can do a better job with this new change that's happening right now. But thank you so much, Isaac, for having me. It was such a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you later.
Thank you. Yeah.